Okay, this should be the fourth story and the last story in my little mini series on what kind of a giver are you. So this is one that is about somebody else that I knew, but I was there with them. So there was this gal, and she got a scholarship to go to school, and so she moved and accepted into this little college in the town where I lived, and so she moved away from her mom and dad and her family and everything, and she moved to this town where she didn't know anybody or anything. But she had an uncle that lived there, this old bachelor uncle that was a very interesting man. I'll just say that. Okay, so she found a little apartment off of somebody's house. I think it had been their garage, and they turned it into an apartment. And so she was able to rent that very inexpensively, and she didn't have hardly any money. She was going to need to find a job that she could do part-time while she was going to school. I mean, there was a lot involved, and she didn't know anybody other than this uncle. Well, she ended up meeting me, and so I was like one of the only people she knew. And when she had come to town, she'd come in her little beat up little old car that blew black smoke all the time. It was, you knew it wasn't going to last long. Well, sure enough, she was still, she was, had gone to school and was in classes. And when she came out, she couldn't get the thing to run anymore. It was dead. And so she called me up because she didn't have anybody else to call. And because I don't know where the weird old uncle was, but I wouldn't have called him either. So anyway, so she called me. I went and got her, and and I'm trying to think, how I can get her a car and everything. She's like, "Look, it'll all be okay. God will take care of me." She goes, "You don't have to fix my problems." She goes, "I've got enough money to get the car towed to the junkyard, and because it's done." There had been a bunch of guys there at the college that, well, she was a cute girl, so that probably is part of it too. But we're checking out this car and going, "Oh yeah, no, this is done for." And so she goes, "It'll all work out. God will take care of me, and you'll see." And so I go, "Okay." And so she called me about an hour later, and she said, "Hey, I talked to my uncle, and he said not to worry about it, that he'd go get me a car. And so he's gonna go get it. He said he'll get it today, and I should have it by tomorrow." And so he knows a guy or whatever. So she goes, "So see, he took care of it." So I'm like going, "Okay." And so he had told her the car was going to be delivered like at 10 o'clock or something, that, he had arranged for it to be brought to her house at 10. And so she goes, "You want to come over and, and wait with me and see this car?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. That'll be fun." So, so we're sitting there, looking out her little living room, bedroom, kitchen window, because it was a little one-room apartment with a bathroom. And so we're looking out the window, and this tow truck towing a little car pulls up out front and then drops the car down on the street. The guy gets his clipboard, and he comes up to her door. And we're just like, "Oh, what is going on?" So anyway, so she goes to the door, and the guy, he goes, "Hey, I need, are you so-and-so?" And she goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Okay, well, here's your car. I need you to sign for delivery." She goes, "What do you mean, here's my car? I don't understand." He goes, "Well, do you know so-and-so?" And he always said the uncle's name. And she goes, "Yeah, that's my uncle." And he goes, "Well, he bought it from our junkyard yesterday. It's an old parts car. I guess he needs the parts off it or whatever. But he said to bring it here to you and drop it off, and then you would sign for it." And she goes, "Does it run?" He goes, "No, it's a parts car. It doesn't even have a full engine in it, and she's like, "What?" And so we talked about later, she shouldn't have signed for that car, but she signed it, and she's like, "Okay, we'll figure it out." And so she called her uncle, and he was like, "Yeah, you said you needed a car. You didn't say you needed it to run." And he goes, "So I got you a car. And there it is. Now you figure out, come up with the money. All you got to do is, that'll be a great little car. You just need to come up with a little bit of money, and that thing will get you around forever, and, it's great. It's great." And she's like, "I don't have money to fix it up. I barely have enough money to go to the grocery store." And she's like, "What am I going to do?" And so she, I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." And I'm back to, okay, how can I get her a car? What can we do? And she goes, "It'll be okay, because God will take care of me. So it'll be okay." And So that night, in the evening, her landlord lived in the house that her little apartment was off of. Anyway, he came home and he was knocking at her door, and he goes, "What's that piece of junk, sitting in the street in front of my place?" He goes, "You know anything about it?" And so she tried to explain what happened. And he goes, "Well," and she goes, "And I don't know what I'm going to do quite yet, but I'm trying to figure it out." He goes, "Well, I know what you're going to do. You're going to get that thing towed out of here, because otherwise the city is going to give me a fine." He goes, "So you need to get that thing towed out of here. And if you don't, then I'll have it towed and give you the bill. You're going to owe me that plus your rent." And so she was like, "Okay." And so she thought she had a couple of days to figure this out, right? And it was evening, like, who are you going to call, or, what are you going to do? And so she thought, "I'll worry about it tomorrow." The next morning, she woke up to a tow truck towing that little car away, and her landlord coming to her door to give her a copy of the bill, because she now owed him. I wonder if it was the same tow truck that brought the car. I should have asked her. Anyway, they'd be making money on the deal. Anyhow, now she was stuck with this bill, and now she was crying a little when she called me, because she's like, "I don't know how I'm going to pay the landlord that plus my rent. I don't have that kind of money. And I just, it's okay. It's okay. God's going to take care of me." Now, I don't remember what all happened, but God took care of her, and she was able to pay her rent, pay the bills. She got a job and a really nice little car that was dependable and would take her to work and would take her to school, and problem was solved. But doesn't matter. I don't remember that part, because the part that is important for what we're talking about on what kind of a giver are you is this gift of this car that her uncle gave her. You see, sometimes we give people things that isn't really, that's meant to be a blessing, but it really isn't. If it doesn't meet their need, if it's going to cost them money they don't have. I've had people give me things like that. I've had people, like, "Oh, isn't this great that I'm giving you?" What about the story of the woman that used to bring the broken things to give to my kids, things that needed to go in the trash, but then she'd bring them to my kids like that was such a great gift for them? Only that I would end up paying the trash bill to put them in the trash and have it hauled off. If you're going to help somebody out, then do what will really help them out. I was told when I was a kid that the best gift you can give somebody else is a gift that you would want to get. And so I think that probably really works here. When you're giving somebody something to help meet their need, if you stop and think that you're them, and put yourself in their shoes and then look at what is coming to you, would that really meet the need? Or is it going to bring more problems? Because that car he got her ended up costing her a whole bunch of money she didn't have, and some problems with her landlord. And it just, it was not a good situation. So that was not a good gift. It wasn't even being helpful. So that would be lesson number 4 in this. Of what kind of a giver are you, is when you do something that's supposed to be helping someone and meeting a need, is it really doing that? Okay. I hope you got something out of at least one of these videos, maybe saw something. I always do. Even when I'm telling the story, I always like, oh, I could do better about that. But then I hope you also saw some things that says I'm doing okay. I've gotten better. I've grown. But just hope you're getting something out of it. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel, sharing any of these videos that mean something to you with your friends, and hit that notification bell so that when the new one comes up tomorrow, you'll know it's up. All right. I hope you have a great day. I love you, and I will talk to you later.